Hello and welcome to a new PC build for £1,000. Now this PC will have an i7 processor and a really good graphics card, so stay tuned if you want to see that in the upcoming video. Okay guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing a £1,000 PC build because you all seem to really like the old PC build I did a few months ago. It's got over 500 likes now, or 500 views now, sorry. So thank you very much for that. But let's get into the first component in this PC. It is the NZXT full tower chassis. Now you can get this in a different colour, you can even get a different case, it doesn't matter. Just make sure you're getting a full tower case. Now this case is the one I recommend, and I think it's a really nice case inside. I haven't had it myself now, but I've heard some very good reviews. It's got 4.5 star reviews on Amazon, and I really recommend it. This case has 7 fan compatibility, and it comes with 3 fans, I think it is. Yeah, it comes with 3 fans, and you can install even more. You can have a big 240mm fan on the side of the case, which is actually really good for cooling if you're exhausting air out. It takes the air that's being drawn in from the CPU and brings it out from the case straight off the bat, meaning it's not staying around the case and keeping your components warmed up. Now moving on into the next component is actually something I really recommend. It's the Amd R9-290x overclocked graphics card from Sapphire. This graphics card itself actually has 3 fans, and it's got some really good heatsink pipes, meaning it runs at a really cool rate. Also, it's overclocked quite heavily. I think it's up to 1350 megahertz. I can't really tell you that for sure. It runs really good, but I have it in my computer at the minute, and I run it in a midi tower, and it stays cool. Now the graphics card's quite long, so make sure you're getting a full tower case at least. The only reason I got this into the midi case was because I actually had to mod some parts of it to get it in. But it will run 4K resolution at 60 frames per second. Basically, it's good enough to do that. The next component is the processor. Now, guys, you cannot get much better than this processor. I have an i5 4690K, and it runs perfectly for me. And it runs games like Arma and DayZ at 100 frames per second. This graphics card will even be better for that. There will be no bottleneck in your graphics card. It would run absolutely brilliantly, and it runs. It's a quad-core processor with hyper-threading. Means it's got, I think, virtual 8 cores. They run at 4 GHz, so you can imagine the power of this PCU is really high. It's actually a really good processor, and it's getting brilliant reviews on Amazon. I really recommend this CPU. Now, if you're wanting to cut back some of this budget, I do recommend the 4690K i5. I would either go for the top end i7 or the top end i5. I don't really see going for the medium ones in between. I would just stick i7 or i5 because they both run at quite high. Mine's a quad core 3.5 GHz, so it runs pretty well, but this is much better, and it's only about £100 a year. Next, we're moving on into the MSI Z97 Gaming 3 motherboard. Now this motherboard's absolutely brilliant. I really recommend it to anybody who's looking for a good motherboard. It has 4 SATA cables running at 5 gigabits per second, I think. It's an 1150 board, so it fits Intel CPUs. Make sure you're going for a different socket. It's not LGA 1150. LGA 1150 is for Intel i5s, i7s, and i3s, I think. If you're going to go for AMD CPU, make sure you're going for a different socket. Make sure you research to find out what it is, and then use that one, obviously. It's got all the IOs that you really need. It's got your sound boost things, as well as it's got HDMI, VGA, and DVI all on the interface of the motherboard. So if you need to hook it up to your monitor at the start, you can do it fine without going into a graphics card. Really recommend this motherboard, guys. It runs really fast, and especially the NCI or the network interface card, it's absolutely brilliant in this motherboard. I get mostly what I should be getting out of my internet straight onto this. When I was using my old computer, I was getting about 250 kilobits per second on Steam. Now I'm getting 500, so it's definitely a very good motherboard in that respect. Moving on to the next part is actually the Western Digital 1TB internal hard drive. This is the best hard drive you're going to buy. It's only £40. When I built my computer it was about 55. It was quite a bit dear. I really recommend these. If you're looking to do gaming YouTube, I recommend buying 2 of these. I have this and an SSD in my computer, but I don't really recommend SSD unless you're going to be doing, you know, some hardcore stuff. You don't really need it. It's just a lot of wasted money basically, unless you're wanting to move files quickly, which I was looking to do. Moving on into the next thing is HyperX Fury 8GB RAM, DDR3 running at 1866 MHz. It's a DIMM memory. Definitely recommend getting this, guys. If anything, go for the 16GB if you've got the extra money. You know, you can put in 16GB, but only do that if you're really using it, which that's really for Photoshop and using Lightroom and stuff. You really need 16GB, but other than that you don't really need it. You would get away with 8GB for all gaming. Realistically, when you're gaming you only need 4GB of memory. You can run 8. I recommend running 8 for all games because someday you will need 8GB. So definitely buy 8GB. That's the minimum you can get. But go for the 16 if you've got the extra bit of cash about. It's quite recommend it. Next is actually the Corsair Hydro Series H100i all-in-one liquid cooler. Now why I'm including this, guys, is actually quite because I was thinking the i7 could do with being overclocked, and using the Corsair 100i you can get a really good clock speed out of the processor. Using a full tar case as well, you can do it no problem. But if you guys are not competent in doing overclocking and using, you know, water coolers, leave this out and just keep it as a stock cooler. But if you're not going to overclock the graphic or the CPU, definitely don't buy a water cooler. I definitely don't recommend doing that. But yeah, if you're going to look to overclock, definitely look at the Corsair Hydro Series H100i. Next part is the PSU. Quite an integral part of the build that you'll be looking to, and a lot of people don't really know how much power you need for your CPU or your CPU and your GPU. I recommend for this build get the 750 watt power supply because the graphics card uses about 350. Your motherboard and other components are going to use about 150 watts running on idle, and then, you know, that boosts up to maybe about 250. So when you're running on full power, you should be using about at least 650 watts. If you're looking to put in another graphics card, go for about 1000 watt, 1100 watt graphic or PSU. But I wouldn't really recommend that. I would go for the 750 watt and run the one graphics card. Definitely, because it's probably the best part of the build, to be honest. It's the most hardest part to pick. I run a 750 watt with that CPU, or not CPU, sorry, the GPU. And it runs perfectly, no problems, and I've overclocked it even more than what it is. For the last part then, it is the Samsung 24x retail SATA DVD driver, or DVD writer. You need this really to install drivers, but you can get drivers off the internet now, so I wouldn't exactly recommend buying this unless you really want to. If you don't have good internet, buy this and then download your normal drivers before going onto the internet and getting the updated one. You may need it also to install Windows, unless you're doing Windows off of a flash drive. You can do it like that. But yeah, I would buy that just in case. You know, you can get DVDs and stuff. You can watch DVDs off the Samsung DVD writer. But that is the last part of this build, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Did you learn a lot about what you're doing for your PC? Tell me in the comment section down below. This whole PC altogether will cost around £990, so it is in the £1,000 budget. If you want, you can get that 16GB memory, but the 8GB will do. Unless you're using Photoshop and rendering videos, you won't need to do that. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching this episode. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button down below, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.